The ease of distraction. Distraction is an invisible trap that catches many of us in our daily lives. Think about it. It's so easy to get lost in activities that provide immediate gratification, like playing video games or endlessly scrolling through social media. These activities, filled with dopamine spikes, make everything that requires even a little more mental effort, like studying or working on an important project, feel like an uphill battle. It's as if our minds naturally choose the easiest, most pleasurable path in the short term, completely ignoring the long-term benefits of more challenging tasks. What's interesting is that, even when we know we should be focusing on something productive, we still fall into the same traps. The ease with which one click can lead to hours of entertainment is astonishing, which is why so many people feel like they're wasting valuable time. But it's not a matter of discipline. It's because our brains instinctively crave those small bursts of immediate pleasure. A quick scroll on social media to take a break can easily turn into hours of distraction, and before you know it, time has flown by. And here's what's even more fascinating. Most people underestimate the impact of these small daily distractions. I've experienced it myself. Starting the day determined to complete an important project, only to find that I've already spent half an hour checking stock prices, figuring out the best time to invest more money, or scrolling through endless notifications. This drains our energy and focus. And the most frustrating part? It makes the tasks that truly matter at that moment seem even harder and less appealing. This is the big trap, leading us to the next point about what's really driving this behavior. Dopamine. The role of dopamine. Dopamine is often referred to as the pleasure neurotransmitter, but this simplistic view doesn't do justice to its true function. It's not just about feeling pleasure. It's more about seeking and desiring. Dopamine motivates us to take action, pursue goals, and achieve rewards. In an experiment with small rats, researchers found that when dopamine production was inhibited, the rats lost all motivation, even to search for food, something vital for their survival. This perfectly illustrates that dopamine is more about driving action than simply creating a feeling of pleasure. In humans, dopamine works in a similar way, driving behaviors that we perceive as rewarding. For instance, when you hear a notification sound on your phone, it's dopamine that makes you reach for it immediately, eager to find out what's going on. But this urge isn't really about the reward itself. It's about the desire to obtain it. And the more quick rewards we receive, the more conditioned we become to keep seeking them. Understanding this is key to realizing why we often feel unmotivated when it comes to tackling longer, more demanding tasks, like studying or working on complex projects. Activities that offer immediate gratification quickly trigger our dopamine circuits, while long-term tasks require more patience. But once we grasp this mechanism, we can begin to hack it, redirecting our motivation toward the things we truly want to accomplish. This naturally brings us to an important reflection: the difference between high and low dopamine activities. High versus low dopamine activities. High dopamine activities are those that offer quick, almost instant rewards. Think about checking your phone with every notification, playing video games, or watching short videos back to back. They provide an immediate sense of satisfaction, making them highly addictive. The problem is that as we get used to these fast rewards, we start to avoid or procrastinate on activities that require more mental effort, like studying, working, or even reading a book. On the other hand, low dopamine activities, such as reading, studying, or working on a project, usually don't offer instant gratification. They demand patience, focus, and more time until the reward comes. This can make them seem demotivating, especially when we've grown accustomed to instant rewards. However, these are the activities that truly bring lasting results. If you've ever gone through an intense study process for an exam or dedicated yourself to a personal project, you know how rewarding it feels to achieve success after continuous effort. The central issue is that when we prioritize high dopamine activities, we get stuck in a cycle of constantly seeking quick gratification. And this pulls us away from the tasks that actually matter and lead to long-term growth. However, by understanding this dynamic, we can begin to balance the two. As we'll explore next, there's an important factor to consider in this balance: dopamine tolerance. Dopamine tolerance. Just like with alcohol or any addictive substance, the brain can develop a tolerance to dopamine. Over time, this means it starts needing higher doses to achieve the same level of pleasure. Activities that once brought easy satisfaction, like watching an episode of a TV show or winning a game online, start to feel normal or even boring, pushing us to seek increasingly intense stimuli. This explains why so many people end up spending hours on social media or gaming without even realizing how much time has passed. This dopamine tolerance has a significant side effect. Low dopamine activities, like reading a book or working on a project, begin to feel more and more uninteresting and harder to do. The brain becomes accustomed to the pattern of immediate reward and starts resisting tasks that don't offer quick gratification. It's as if the level of effort needed to start these activities increases exponentially, even though we know they are essential for our personal or professional growth. This reality can be incredibly frustrating, but the good news is that there's a way to reverse it. Reducing exposure to high dopamine activities is a crucial first step in regaining balance. By allowing the brain to reset from these frequent intense doses of pleasure, you can start restoring your sensitivity to dopamine. And this naturally leads us to a strategy that many people are adopting: dopamine detox. The concept of dopamine detox. Dopamine detox is gaining popularity as an effective way to restore balance in the brain. The concept is simple. By temporarily removing high dopamine stimuli, like social media, games, quick videos, and other similar activities, you allow your brain to reset. It's like pressing the reset button, giving your brain the opportunity to rebalance dopamine levels and, in turn, regain motivation for tasks that require more mental effort and patience. During the detox, many people report that eliminating these addictive stimuli for a period significantly improves their ability to focus on more important tasks. Imagine spending an entire day without touching your phone, checking notifications, or watching videos. At first, it might seem impossible, but the benefits are often quickly noticeable. Many people experience greater mental clarity and an increased ability to engage in tasks that previously felt boring or difficult, such as studying, reading, or working on projects. The detox doesn't need to be drastic. Starting with just one day is enough to feel the initial effects. During this time, it's recommended to focus on simpler and more enjoyable activities in a different way, such as taking a walk, meditating, or even writing by hand. By giving your brain the space to reorganize itself, you begin to regain control over your motivations and desires. This brings us to the next question. How can you effectively implement this detox in your life? How to do a dopamine detox? Doing a dopamine detox might seem challenging at first, but with proper planning, it becomes much more manageable. The main idea is to avoid any activity that stimulates excessive dopamine production for an entire day. This means staying away from social media, video games, junk food, and even stimulating music. The goal is to create an environment of tranquility and simplicity, allowing the brain to recalibrate itself to more natural dopamine levels. During this period, it's important to replace high dopamine activities with more relaxing and introspective practices. For example, taking a walk outdoors can be an excellent way to reconnect with nature and help calm the mind. Meditation is another powerful ally in this process, helping to reduce anxiety and increase focus. Other activities, like reading a light book or journaling your thoughts, can also be quite useful. The key here is to keep everything simple and free of intense stimuli. What many people notice after this break is a sense of mental renewal. By taking this day off from excessive stimuli, the brain starts to readjust to low dopamine activities, making them more enjoyable and less draining. This process can be repeated weekly or monthly, depending on the need. But of course, for many, just one detox day may not be enough. So, what would a long-term approach to maintaining this balance look like? Long-term approach. If just one day of dopamine detox can bring great benefits, imagine the impact of applying this practice regularly and in a controlled manner over time. A less intense but highly effective approach involves selecting one high dopamine behavior and avoiding it for one day each week. This simple practice is powerful because it helps the brain reduce its dependency on those dopamine spikes while rebalancing our motivation toward activities that provide more long-term results. For instance, if you spend a lot of time on social media, you could choose to avoid it completely on Fridays. During this day, you can focus on activities that typically require more mental effort, like studying, organizing your week, or working on a personal project. Over time, this practice will make social media lose some of its shine and allow your brain to begin appreciating low dopamine activities more. This long-term approach is sustainable and practical because you don't have to completely abandon high dopamine activities, but you learn how to control them. By doing so, your brain will slowly recondition itself, becoming more receptive and engaged in the tasks that truly matter. But what if, instead of simply avoiding these activities, you started using them strategically as a reward? Using dopamine as a reward. An effective strategy for boosting productivity and maintaining balance is to use high dopamine activities as a reward, not as a routine. This means flipping the cycle. Instead of starting your day with distractions, you use them as a prize for completing important tasks. For example, after finishing a morning of studying or working, you can allow yourself to play video games or spend time on social media. In this way, dopamine becomes an ally in your progress rather than an obstacle. The key here is to be strategic. By associating the gratification of a high dopamine activity with the completion of low dopamine tasks, you create internal motivation to stay focused. Let's say you have a list of tasks for the day. After completing one of them, you can set aside 10 or 15 minutes for something enjoyable, like watching an episode of your favorite show. This technique is simple but highly effective in balancing productivity with leisure. When you apply this strategy regularly, you start training your brain to appreciate hard work, knowing that the reward is guaranteed after the effort. This creates a positive cycle. The more you complete your tasks, the more controlled gratification you can enjoy. With that, we close the loop on how to understand and use dopamine to your advantage, leaving you better equipped to handle daily distractions. Now that you understand how dopamine works and how it affects your choices, the real question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Knowing that your brain can be hacked to increase your productivity and reduce distractions, you now have the key to changing your routine starting today. But that's just the beginning. In the next videos, I'll show you how to take this mental control even further, with strategies used by the most successful women in the world to stay one step ahead. And trust me, what comes next will surprise you and open new doors for your personal and professional growth. Are you ready to take it to the next level? Like and subscribe for more.